Hi everyone, it's Andy and Joel at Codebreak with the Stay Hungry podcast. Let's hit it. Andy.
Hi Joel.
It's an Ahead of the Game episode.
Excellent, and I believe we're talking about the importance of picking yourself up when you have setbacks. Let's face it, if you're running a business, things aren't going to be lovely and peachy all the way.
No. 9 out of 10 things usually aren't.
Yeah, I mean, we know loads of lovely business owners with great things to offer, but unfortunately they haven't been prepared for some of the challenges that being a business owner can throw at you, and they give up, and that's a real shame. They go back to working for the man. Can you imagine anything worse? Apart from looking after Hannah and yourself and stuff and our lovely staff, does the thought of going back to work for someone else, is that what spurs you on more than anything else?
No, it's not, but I know what you mean. I had this chat actually with 2 employed people on Tuesday night. So
Happily employed people?
Yeah, happily employed people. One's a teacher.
Oh, God. Right, sorry. Oh, God.
Why?
My brother's a teacher.
Why?
Well, let's just say my brother and him are very familiar if it's the teacher I'm thinking of.
Okay.
They're very similar.
Yeah, but in terms of coronavirus, lockdown, everything kicking off.
They work till 9 till 3 half the year, yeah?
Honestly, I like teachers. Stop it.
It's just, sorry, it's me and my brother. It's public sector versus private sector, so we have an ongoing friendly debate.
Okay. So anyway, he's a teacher. Obviously, he's been paid all the way through lockdown. There's no risk as such. There's other risks. He's had to go to work when other people didn't. But
he's been working during lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So he still got paid. His job's safe. Relatively decent pension that, unless the government has a melt, is
a very, very good pension, I think.
Yeah, but the risk is the government moves the goalposts all the time, I guess, for someone in that sector. Honestly, you're outrageous. And so from his perspective, he can't see why I do what I do, if that makes sense.
Okay, fair enough.
So
he must have loads of pressures in his job.
Yeah, I couldn't do what he does.
Teaching kids all day. I mean, literally that alone
scares you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love my children, obviously. Teaching, God, no.
Yeah, well, this is the point I'm making. And then my other friend, he's, senior management in a national firm, but employed, and if they wanted to get rid of him, they'd have to give him a fair payoff. And
is this the guy, the guy whose company where he was going to leave, but they wanted him back and literally
threw everything at him, to
get him back?
Yeah,
because he's obviously awesome at what he does.
But again, I couldn't do that job. It's very, very well rewarded.
Why couldn't you do his job?
It's just
because it earns a lot.
Earns a lot, but you bloody work for it. I mean, if you've got 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and add in the factor that that's for somebody else, that's not for me.
The thought of bringing home the same amount of money every month for the foreseeable future would be enough to detract me from wanting to go back to the workplace. I love the challenge. Don't get me wrong, when you take home less one month, it's not very nice, but that spurs me on. I love the challenge and the thought of, right, if I work a bit harder or work a bit smarter and think and adapt, like, let's face it, not going to get a bigger chance to adapt than over lockdown, I could bring home more money, which will help me buy time, shall I say, for my family, and further safeguard our employees' job. I love it.
I think that's a big thing for me and you, is we're buying time. The biggest benefit of money to both of us is the ability to do things that other people would see as fortunate.
And your Ferrari.
Good one. Good one. I need the stupid sound effects, don't I, again?
Where's the kind of laughter?
They're on the other soundboard, because we're serious now. This is the Ahead of the Game.
And the bullets flying?
Oh yeah, you can have one of those.
Oh, there we go.
But
should have done that when I mentioned the teacher comment.
The wah.
No, I love to. Great respect to him. Again, said to my brother, I'll take the piss out of his job. He'll take the piss out of mine, because obviously he thinks all entrepreneurs are tax dodgers. But he couldn't do what I do, and I couldn't do what he does. No,
and I think that's it, isn't it? It takes a very particular mindset to be a business owner. But equally, it takes a very particular mindset to be a teacher.
I mean, 8 weeks off in the summer. And I'm
It's not off, is it? They're not paid for it. They're paid pro rata.
They get paid every month.
Yeah, but they're paid pro rata. So they're paid for the 10 months that they work across 12.
Yeah, and generally paid well.
But
he gets paid, and so say he has 8 weeks off for summer. The first week is usually tidying shit up. The last week is getting ready, or maybe the last 2 weeks. So let's say 6 weeks off, where my brother and maybe other teachers doesn't do anything to do with their job. He loves it, and fair play to him, because he's under a lot of stress in his job. Oh God, I'd go bloody nuts.
Yeah,
that would be. I'd be bored shitless.
I absolutely couldn't do it, and
if I said
I'm
to
absolutely
you,
rubbish at time off as well.
If I said to you, right, Joel, you cannot touch a podcast, our website, social media, sales funnels, design ads,
meet a client, that's a big one.
Anything for 6 weeks. I'd give you 2 weeks for you.
Right, in 10 years, the most you've seen me take a break for is 2 weeks.
Do you have 2 weeks for your honeymoon?
Yeah. And yeah.
How many days into your honeymoon did it take you to actually think, I can do this? I can.
So the beauty was, and this is a mindset thing and an important thing for business owners, I think.
We will get back on subject in a bit.
Well, this is an important thing though, because I would say one of the setbacks of being a business owner is believing you can't have time off. You can convince yourself that it'll all go wrong if you're not there. So what you and I planned prior to my honeymoon to make sure I actually had a honeymoon was to delete all the apps and all the email off my phone. My laptop stayed at the office, so you knew I hadn't got that with me.
Remember what happened when you didn't turn your email off on the day of your wedding? Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was a staff issue rather than a client issue.
An ex-staff issue.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah. But then, we had this. It's sort of similar. Had this with a client when I think, did he call or email? No, he emailed me on a Friday night about something, and it just wound me up. And I was polite back to him, but he knew I wasn't 2 HP. And he said, well, whose fault is it? Me for emailing you on Friday night, or you for opening up the email and having your email switched on? And that literally was a monumental shift in my thinking, because he was bang on.
Yeah, so I've just been to see a client, just come back from a client visit now, and I sat with them and they said, oh, can you just email those slides you did for our TV screen? Well, yeah, no, that's my language. Could you send me the slides you did for our TV screen? They got corrupted originally or whatever. It wasn't any hassle. I said, I can't. Why not? I'm not opening my email whilst I'm here. What do you mean? I was like, you've got my focus now. I'm having a meeting with you. I'm not opening my email whilst I'm here. If I can Bluetooth from you, fine. But I'm not opening my email.
Nice.
And they were a bit taken by surprise. They said, oh, why wouldn't you open your email? Don't you have it on your phone? No, I don't have email on my phone.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you think most business owners, well, actually, I think most business owners will have their work email on their phone. And when we say that we don't and tell our staff not to, if they choose to, that's their issue. But I've got my personal Gmail on my phone that the guys know, my mum knows, and personal stuff I subscribe to. But work stuff, no, that's not on my phone.
No.
And I know things like that are enough of a setback to stop someone doing business, because they think that's what they need to do to survive and they can't handle it. It's like, oh my God, I'm getting notifications all the time. I'm getting emails all the time. I say, well, turn your fucking notifications off then. Yeah. And they look at me like I've gone mad. It's like, well, that's a solution. Well, I'm needed.
So if you think in a year, how often in a year do you get an email that desperately needs your reply that day?
No, if it's important, they call.
I'd say there's maybe one email a year where that's the case, where someone doesn't figure out that they need to ring up. Or
if something is so crucial, that person thinks email is the best way of communicating that they've got some challenges that we're happy to help address in their business.
Yeah. Are you okay with home truths? Because we are.
Yeah, I mean, when the phone rings, I'm almost like, must be an emergency now.
Yeah, that's a mindset thing that I'm trying to change, is when the phone rings, think it's an opportunity, not a problem.
What about after cold call? I'll talk about cold calls a bit, because I'm seeing a bit of a resurgence on, what are we talking about? Talking about setbacks in business.
Yes, okay. So one of the setbacks with us is I think, on this point is you can get into a habit where the phone only rings for emergencies, because most people will use their online communications group with us, or they'll historically email us. And so we got into that habit. If the phone rings, it's either somebody who, I thought a call would be quicker, which it never is, or
wow, that's probably the biggest truth out there.
Or it's a cold call sales, or it's a problem. And now, we're talking to our team about how actually the phone could be the first point of contact that person's ever had with Codebreak, and to get away from that setback mentality and into an opportunity mentality. Right, what impression am I going to give this person on the other end of the phone? What are they going to think of us by the time this call's finished? And has that person in a better place? Now, no, it might not be a customer, but it could be somebody that talks about us to someone else. It could be a supplier.
I totally agree. I mean, we have certain scripts. In fact, I tell people that if you call up the Codebreak number and you're not greeted by, hello, this is Andy, or, well, obviously if it's Emily, she's going to say Emily. Codebreak, Emily speaking, how can I help? Something like that. That's not, well, it won't happen.
Let us know.
Yeah, it's because most people, like, you ring up, hello. Oh, right. Well, okay. It's not bad, but is it as good a first impression as you can make? So,
I always think that about.
Hi, this is Codebreak. Emily speaking. How can I help? Oh, well, that's nice. Hardly anyone says anything like that when you call them up.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Very strange. But do you think now that people know that, they might think, oh shit, yeah, that's just super simple. It's literally something you can write on a post-it note and stick on the person's computer, and they just read it whenever someone calls.
I mean, we would say script everything.
Scripts work. I used to be quite anti-scripts, especially when I worked at a telesales place, which zapped all fun out of life. But it taught me so much about sales, and it did show me the importance of script, because you always want to deviate a bit. And it's like, no, you're talking about, if the company's done it right, a tried and tested method written down.
Yeah.
If you want to go left field, on your head be it.
And I think the key to that as well is obviously get the scripts right in the first place. So, in our case, we've been involved in the scripts, but there'll be people in your business who are very good at communication, will understand how to do that. But then, if it's a particular individual that's always answering the phone, or if it's a particular individual that's always replying to emails, or whatever it might be, sit with them and help them bring their voice into it. There's no shame in that, as long as you're getting your key messages across, and that person feels more natural because of that, and it just takes a few barriers away. That's fine.
Yeah. And so it's talk about cold calls. It isn't really on our subject list, I suppose, but on LinkedIn, I'm seeing quite a few people, what I'd call old school salespeople. That's not meant to be.
Would you like a mortgage, Andy? Because I know loads of mortgage brokers.
Yeah, but it's good. Oh, the phone's the most underutilised tool around. And okay, like we've just said, yes, it is underutilised, but that doesn't mean start calling people 20 times a day selling your shit. If you are going to cold call, have a script, help, and listen.
Listen. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, just sitting and just talking at someone, and I won't put it out there. Cold calling, no, it's like it ain't the fucking 80s. If your business is going to depend solely on cold calling, Jesus Christ, I couldn't think their staff engagement and morale is going to be very high.
So I've got a couple.
Do feel free to comment if you disagree.
I've got a couple of print salesmen at the moment, so industrial level print, so brochures, magazines, that kind of thing, who. One of them in particular has changed jobs 3 times since I've known him. So probably known him 4 years. And I say,
I know who you're talking about.
I say, oh no, you don't. You're thinking photocopiers, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Are we psychic or something? Yes, I was thinking about that photocopy.
But this is a similar scenario. So every time he changes jobs, he drops me a call, and leaves a message. So you just ring me up, say, oh, by the way, I'm working with so-and-so now. Oh, they've got this technology, so we can do this, and this. Obviously, next time you've got a print quote, don't hesitate to think of me. All right, whatever. But then he also drops me a LinkedIn message. Now, I've kind of reached the point now where I'm like, well, you're changing printers so often, and every time you change, this new print company is better than the one you were at before. Yeah. And what you failed to do is at any point ask me what my background is. So I used to work in a print and design agency, so I know what you're saying, and I know when you're talking crap and when you're not. And when I go to get print, be it T-shirts or brochures, or I specifically know the spec I'm looking for and can go and talk to people about it. And
yeah, if your script doesn't have questions in it, you're definitely at the wrong company. Because I guarantee, because this is the old joke that you can literally put the phone to its side, go off, make a cup of tea, come back, pick the phone up, and that guy or girl is still talking at you.
Yeah.
Got to ask questions, find out, is this relevant? Have they, if they haven't got a pain, I need to create a pain, and then I've got the solution to that pain.
Sometimes I just sell back. Do you want any printing? No. Do you want any marketing? No. Well, this is.
So what's your first thought when you get a LinkedIn connection request off someone who's got mortgage in their title? Okay. What do you think will happen within a minute of you accepting that request?
I'm desperately trying not to feel like that, because I think recruitment has that reputation as well.
Do you know, there's on this exact note, before I forget, there's a guy who I don't know from Adam, and he's emailing me every day now, and another email address at the company, on Outlook, no unsubscribe option, selling me his recruitment service.
And he's tarnishing the whole industry.
Yeah, because we know recruitment guys who are literally awesome, absolutely awesome, and they do it right. They do their marketing right, do their positioning right. They're brilliant. But this guy's like, who are you?
The trick for any business is to make people want to work with you, not to try and convince people they need to. And
so if you're sending mass emails out there and you're using Outlook or whatever, and you haven't got an unsubscribe option, stop it, please, now.
Hey there, Evie at Codebreak here. Fancy top tips, marketing insights and awesomeness delivered directly to you? Sign up for the free Stay Hungry printed newsletter at codebreak.co.uk.
That reminds me.
Oh, we're going to print soon, aren't we?
yeah. Better get that finished off.
Oh, yes. G got a title?
No.
Oh, right. We need to get that sorted today. Yeah. So our Thursday podcast, we record on a Thursday, are about mindset, and we're here today, believe it or not, to talk about the setbacks you might get in business and how we've had setbacks. So if every business person said it's always all been wonderful and plain sailing all the way, they're lying. But it's how you adapt and respond to these setbacks. And I mean, there are so many. I mean, obviously financial. I do like the uncertainty. I'm not saying I love uncertainty, but I don't like routine. I don't like.
You like being flying by the seat of your pants.
I don't like being. I feel I get anxious if I'm comfortable for too long.
Yeah.
And not stressed and everything like that. It just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I know as your business partner that we do various little things to light fires under each other to make sure we're staying on track. So that might be, our vision of comfortable shifts a lot. So, and that's really important for our mentality, is what we foresaw as comfortable 2 years ago is not what comfort looks like now, and we have to keep putting ourselves back in.
So what would you say to someone, because I suppose money is always the biggest concern, that someone's in business, they're having a good run, but then they've had a bad month and maybe a bad couple of months, and sometimes, especially if people haven't been putting money aside or investing smartly, they haven't got a backup plan. When they're in that sort of that quite like
dark place,
they're like, oh, what the hell am I doing? I'm busting my arse, and for the past 2 months, I've earned less than the paperboy.
Oh, well, we've all been there. There's not a business owner on the planet that hasn't. I mean, there may be a few that have had a great idea and it's just absolutely skyrocketed and they've never had to go through this. But I'd say most SME owners have been in that position where, in order to grow my business, I'm going to have to earn less than everyone else here, or whatever it might be, or to take the next step, we're going to be stretched, and if something goes wrong, it's going to hurt. And I think you've got to. There's a few things there. You've got to have faith in what you're doing, and too many business owners don't. They don't have the belief in what they're doing to carry it off, which I think it's a harsh truth.
Give it a sort of example, industry example.
We meet a lot of people who start up in business, I think, because they think it'll be easier than being employed. So I don't like being employed. I think we had that exact conversation yesterday. I don't want.
What's the number one reason to put you off going back to employment? Okay. Apart from Hannah.
Well, that's a toughie. That's a toughie. I wouldn't like to go back to employment because I'm a control freak.
Oh, okay.
So I like to feel like I'm in control of my own destiny. And I feel like employment takes that away.
Putting on a suit would be hard on my list.
Well, it depends where you work, I suppose.
I think about some of my friends who are still in London in the middle of summer. What is it on the underground? 35 degrees. Putting on a suit and spending 2 hours a day commuting.
Yeah.
Literally. So one of my friends, he spends 3 hours a day commuting. Stood up. There's no room to sit down. 15 hours a week. Oh my God. That literally would be, I mean, you're all joking aside about having to wear a suit again. Oh my God, that not
Hell
dead time. What a business owner could do in 15 hours a week. My God.
I found out today. So you know PwC, the massive accountancy firm.
Yeah.
So their uniform policy or dress code or whatever is dress for your day. So if you're meeting a
Since when?
I don't know. But I
wow.
was just chatting to someone earlier who knows people that work there. So it's dress for your day. So if you're meeting a client that would expect you to wear a suit to that meeting. If you're meeting a client that wears overalls, dress appropriately for that meeting. If you're in the office not going to be client facing that day, wear whatever you want, but dress for your day. So basically how they're judging their staff is based on how they respond and flex to the various scenarios they'll be in. Oh,
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool, pretty progressive.
If there was a company that I'd say would be suited and booted all the time, mind you, I suppose maybe the clients of their size aren't going to. Would they have someone who, I need to see you today?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
shit, I'm here in my flip-flops.
You go into Ben and Jerry's, though, and everyone there's going to be in their flip-flops, aren't they? So it's that
We get people, I remember turning up to it, and this was a long time ago, turning up to a networking breakfast, and I could tell the person at the door looked me up and down because I was wearing, in fact, I wasn't even wearing trainers, I was wearing shoes, but I had jeans on, and looked me up and down, and it was like, literally, you know those moments you think, what the fuck am I doing?
Do you remember you always used to wear shoes with jeans? And now you love your Adidas trainers.
Yeah, I still wear my shoes, but I don't like wearing shoes with t-shirts. That doesn't sit with me. Shoes and
It
shirts.
ages you tremendously, doesn't it? If you're wearing shoes, not you personally, but anyone.
I'm about to say, rude bastard.
Anyway, what was the question?
I have no idea.
Money issues.
Money issues.
So how do you get past those setbacks? A faith and determination in your vision.
So you were saying if you know some business owners who just aren't that passionate, don't have enough faith in what they're offering to get them through that kind of
Yeah. And I think the telltale signs of that are they'll say things like, I'm doing loads towards this and nothing's happening. I'm like, well, have you been to any networking events? No. Right, okay. How many social media posts you do? Well, I've only got time to do one. One what, a week? Yeah. Well, that's... And then you start to like delve a bit deeper, and it's like, hang on, how passionate are you about what you're doing?
You're filming 10 TikToks a day with your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Or and it's priorities, isn't it? It's a very like a business owner mentality. I was speaking personally, and from what I see of you, there's some serious tunnel vision, and if you've got lots of other distractions around you, maybe you're more suited to a side hustle, or maybe you're more suited to, well, I don't know. It could be anything, car booting, whatever it might be. I mean, I've seen some people be tremendously successful at a car booting, but they know they'll go and work their ass off all day Sunday, and then Monday they'll sort through all the crap and put it on eBay or whatever it is they do. They'll auction some off, and then they have 4 days off, but that you know you're going to work and sweat for it in those 3 days, and it's that you've got to have that passion for whatever it is. And some people, I think, as soon as there's a setback, particularly financial, they crack, and it comes across as stubbornness. I'd say my wife would say it's stubbornness, but it's not stubbornness. It's more of a determination.
Passion and determination. What you do and how you help people. You've got to have that, because I suppose if you're only a little bit invested in your business, it ain't going to take many setbacks to make you think, well, it's not worth it, is it?
Yeah.
But if you are, and my wife calls me stubborn as well, but I think she means it as a compliment. I don't know. But then I remember my mum telling me, like, "Oh, you've been stubborn since birth." She'll say that to me now. Stubborn since birth. Even as a kid, she said I'd stick my chin out and just look her in the eye. But I think that's a good thing, because if you're not stubborn or determined to fight back, determined to explain how you can help people better than anyone else. I'm not saying knock your competitors, but say, this is why I do what I do. This is why I help people. This is why you should buy into me. If you're going to be all sort of, oh, you know, well, I sort of just do what everyone else does, really, and I do it because I don't really want to work for anyone else.
Yeah.
So this was the option. It's like, well, fuck me. Well, that's lit a fire under me, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever seen those people though? They stand up and do their 60 seconds, and you're like, you actually look like and sound like you're not really into what you do.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. That's what bothers me. So the number one reason I do what I do is because I like helping other business owners. I really, really enjoy it. I get a massive kick out of seeing other people succeed. My number one reason isn't because I don't want to be employed. I don't want to be employed, but it's not even in my top 3. And I think that's a really, like, when you suffer a big setback at work, and we had this the other day, and I literally turned to you and said, yeah, but think about all the other people we've helped. Think about all the other successes we've had recently.
I still struggle with that now. I still, no matter how much good we do, you get one
bad apple.
Somebody we didn't pre-qualify properly. They don't align with our values. And I'm not saying we can help everyone. Yeah, of course we can't. But we'll be very honest about what we can't do, what guarantees we can give, and what we can't. But when you basically get shafted, I know I still take that personally, and I don't focus on the 9 happy clients. I focus on that one who's done me over.
Yeah,
I'm doing something. The reading I'm doing at the moment is to educate myself to try and deal with that better. But I know lots of business owners who aren't prepared to, like you said, there are people who couldn't be asked to go networking, couldn't be asked to get up at 6 o'clock and go networking, and we know loads of why would I want to read and learn about? I haven't got time to do all that stuff.
Yeah,
supposed to be at the pub with my mates.
Compartmentalization. That's a massive thing I read about in business books, psychology books, mindfulness books about if something bad's going on in your life, be it a setback at work, a personal setback. Someone shafted you. You know, we've had a big example of someone shafting us recently. You've got to be able to put it in its box and shift it to one side of your mind and allow the rest of your mind to carry on doing its thing. And you might have to revisit that box.
Is that the same as a thick skin?
I don't think so, because I'd say a thick skin is like Teflon. It doesn't penetrate.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Sometimes I wonder.
It could. I think if you lose your ability to care, I think you lose your insightfulness as a business owner.
So episode, I think 570 of Rob Moore's podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur. Because I was listening to it this morning, and he's interviewing Jordan Belfort. And
he did 2 billionaires in one day, didn't he, or something?
Okay. Yeah, was the other one Grant Cardone?
Yeah, I think so.
And obviously Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort don't like each other. But the conversation with Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, started off talking about when you get shit online. And so it's interesting hearing Jordan Belfort, who is, obviously he's done loads of bad stuff. He's now claiming to be wanted to help lots of people through his sales
He's almost
program.
evangelical now, isn't he?
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. But he talks about having a thick skin and talking about trolls and talking about that mindset shift where you've got to explain that if someone's just being basically a twat online to you when you're trying to help people, they've got something going on in their lives that is...
So true. What did I read this morning? It might have been Grant Cardone, actually. So maybe they've got more in common than I think. It was... basically, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, like, when people throw shit at you, it's normally to do with their insecurities, not yours.
Yeah.
And
I see some really nice people on LinkedIn. Tends to be women. I've got to.
There's some women
who come under fire and are so publicly hurt by trolls. It's fucking criminal.
There's some female characters on LinkedIn absolutely killing it at the moment as well, doing a really good job and really. Some really impressive community-based, turning it into the platform it should be. And
LinkedIn's got so much power and potential at the moment, but there's a few bad apples there at the moment, and and power to the I know some of the women you're talking about who are rocking it, and I want to see more of it because there are so many other women out there. I think a lot of sole traders who are just getting hurt and getting put off doing what they do because someone has a different opinion to them and they just voice it horribly, and these women are like, "Oh, that's
killed it.
This isn't what I signed up for," and that's horrible.
So back to what you were saying.
What was I saying?
The thick skin.
Oh,
thick skin versus compartmentalisation. I think it's two separate things. So I would say, like, we come under fire for how loud we are on social media. We come under fire for how often our Google display ads serve. We come under fire for all that kind of thing. And I literally laugh when I receive those comments now, which some people might think that's arrogant.
So are you saying you're growing a thicker skin?
I'm saying my mindset shift is the things that I absorb and hurt me are more specific. It's harder for someone to get at me. I mean, the one example we were talking about before was something very specific that I was heavily invested in.
I mean, some people say, don't they? Remember, people are having a go at your business or your service or product. They're not having a go at you personally, but obviously what we do see sometimes on social media now is people making it personal and making personal barbs. Which is
absolutely. I mean, imagine being a celebrity. It must the way you'd have to deal with that is very different. But yeah, where I was going is more if you've got something that has got through your thick skin or thin skin, whatever it might be. Very often with something negative, it can kind of snake its way into everything. So one little negative thing can happen, and it can ruin your productivity for that day. It can ruin the fact that you're looking forward to your holiday. It can ruin the fact that you're going to go home and have dinner with your wife. It can really, really seep and cause trouble. And the beauty of compartmentalisation is you train yourself to put it in a box and put it to one side and deal with it when you choose to deal with it.
So what's the advice you'd give? So how would I compartmentalise?
Train yourself hard, really hard. And if you're tired, loads. Loads. The Power of Now is a really good book for that.
Right, okay. I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I've heard of compartmentalisation before. I mean, that's interesting because you can't stop yourself from caring, can you?
But you can stop yourself from thinking about something.
Yeah,
and that's
because I know if I get something shit or maybe a personal attack on, even though I think I have got a thicker skin than I used to, I know at the moment I'll get into the car and I'll drive home angry. Yeah. I'll get home and I'll be sulky or stroppy or whatever, and it's like, and I wish I wasn't.
Oh, we had an example this morning that our reactions were polar apart, but you weren't being malicious. But somebody asked us, "Why have I received this email? I've unsubscribed from your marketing emails." Yeah. And I just decided to go back with an ultra positive response because I'm not having someone spoil my day today. I'm in a good mood. I didn't sleep particularly well last night because it's so bloody hot, so I'm not wrecking my day. I just replied saying, "Well, that wasn't a marketing email. You've received that email from me directly, and as you contacted us in the first instance." But I obviously said, won't send you any more emails. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the sunshine.
You are a nicer person than me.
But your reaction was, well, fucking hell.
You got your free PDF.
Yeah, you got a free PDF.
Okay, just don't know that. What does Kim Constable, the sculpted vegan? She's very, very polarising. She unschools her kids, doesn't believe in vaccinations, all this stuff. Obviously very plant-based, so not strictly vegan, but the sculpted vegan is a lot cooler, more marketable than the sculpted plant-based person.
Yeah.
And I love her. She's really cool. But what does she say? She says when people unfollow her and make a big song and dance about it, she goes, "This is not an airport. You don't need to announce your departure." And that's brilliant. And sometimes I'll still get emails from people saying, I don't want to follow your stuff anymore because I thought you might be interested to know why. No, I'm not. So it's irrelevant. Just fucking unfollow us.
Yeah, that's a mindset setback thing as well, isn't it? Some business owners would absorb that and it would hurt and it would affect their vision and affect what they're doing.
I'd say that's a leading contributor to people being quieter in their marketing than they need to be. They've got a fear that they will come.
What will others think?
Yeah. And that's. I'm not saying just start shouting and vomiting your sales everywhere at all. I'm not talking about that.
No, find your voice and then be confident about it. And when somebody questions it, stand up for yourself.
Yeah, because it's okay. If people got a different opinion to you, that's fine. If they want to shop elsewhere, That's fine.
And that's something I think the media in society at the moment struggles to deal with, is everything's very, very polarised at the moment. You're either right or you're wrong. And that's just not how reality works. There's room for lots of opinions. Facts are different. And that's something the media's messed with and politicians have messed with, is that they've blurred the line between fact and fiction. But in terms of like day-to-day business dealings and your relationships in life, me and my wife have different opinions on loads of stuff. And that's fine. I respect her opinion. She's an intelligent, powerful woman. And
Jordan Belfort's on this same podcast talks about the very thing about, constructive feedback, constructive criticism. Brilliant, intelligent input. That's fantastic. You're not going to change my opinion, but I respect you. Take the time to share your opinion intelligently. But someone shouting off at you, someone putting you down. Again, it's hard because, like I say, constructive criticism. Okay, fair enough. But when someone is forcing their opinion on it, I thought you might like to know why I'm unsubscribed. But it's like it's that Howard. Is it Howard Stern, the shock jock?
Yeah.
That famous clip where someone calls into his show to share his opinion. It's irrelevant. No, I just got an opinion about your show. I'm on your listen. No, it's irrelevant. And this guy ends up crying. And so, well, I'm laughing now. It doesn't sound very funny, but it is. But it's really, this guy's opinion makes no difference to how Howard Stern is going to conduct his radio show. But this guy's convinced, as a listener, and like one of his bloody 50 million listeners, that his opinion matters. And it's like, no, Howard Stern's going to do what he does. Yeah. And he does it very well.
And that's informed by, that's where people are misled, is they see overnight success and don't see the 20 years of graft behind it. And so Howard Stern will have done his time. He will have learned from some of the best in the industry. He will have read more books than most people. But to be at that level of the game, he will have really, really put in the groundwork. And so it would take a tremendous opinion to shift his mindset.
That's going to bug me now. Who said that about it took me 20 years to become an overnight success or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, I have to look that up now.
But that's it's a massive thing. And like you and I can think of 3 examples this week where, purely because the world's quite polarised and everything's quite edgy, we'll be having a conversation and it feels like we're on completely opposite end of the scale about the conversation. And then it turns out that actually we've both got exactly the same opinion. We're just coming at it from different angles. And unless you take the time to listen to people and
listen to which and
be constructive about it, well,
and we talked about. Have we done a video about who you listen to? Because let's face it, everyone's got an opinion when it comes to someone else's money and business.
Yeah, exactly that. So, an
unsuccessful person in business comes to you and says, "Joel, I thought you might like some feedback on that video you did."
I politely would have to.
Would you go Howard Stern?
I tell you what, no, I wouldn't go Howard Stern. I absolutely wouldn't. I'd probably listen to it, and it wouldn't get to the stage where I needed to compartmentalise it.
How long would you listen to him or her?
Yeah, I'd give him 5 minutes. It's hard. That's really hard because
we're polite, aren't we? Let's face it. We're not the sort of people. Some people can be blunt to the point of rudeness, and they just see it as efficiency.
Yeah, and I'm very strong on the idea you can learn something from anyone. I think it would be quite a strange character trait for somebody who is just starting out in business to come and do that.
I think some of the simplest yet most effective things that we've done in our business have been down to Emily. And she's our 20-year-old apprentice, or she was at the time. She's 21 and she's our assistant now.
Do you know why?
But she's come. So I know a lot of business owners wouldn't entertain her. They'd be like, "Hang on, what do you think? You're the apprentice. It's my business." And I will listen to Emily any day of the week.
Yeah, and I would say Emily's the sort of character with tremendous self-belief. Tremendous self-belief.
So the meeting I had this morning with a potential client had their coffees. And he said about the mugs, he goes, so everything you do, and he admitted that, he knows a little bit about marketing, but he said his analogy was he knows how to wire a plug, but if you asked him to wire a house, he wouldn't have a clue. But he said, like, you're yellow and black. He said, everywhere, even at the mugs, the coffee you drink. And I said, yeah, the mugs is Emily's idea. Because she noticed that we had meetings and everyone was drinking out of a different mug. Wouldn't it be cool to have everyone having the same mug, all on brand, all Codebreak? And it's like, Joel, we've been doing this 30 years. Why the hell didn't we think of that?
And to be fair, now it's like we've only just scratched the surface. I know when office move comes or office revamp comes, it will literally just be, you will be in a Codebreak bubble if you visit us.
Not pink beanbag. So can I ask, because this is important, it's about the subject we're talking about whose opinion, when you're in trouble or you want advice, who do you listen to and who do you say, hang on, I'm a bit strapped for time, and who do you say, listen, it's
business or personal?
Oh, business.
Business, okay. I turn to my books a lot. I've got, because I think there's always people that have been through it before. Obviously, we're members of essentially what is a mastermind group. And that's really reassuring for me sometimes. Sometimes you have problems and you feel very lonely in business, and then you raise it with a group of people who are also in business, and it turns out they've all been through it.
I would say that's one of the things I was used to be most against, the idea of paying a coach. Whereas when you look at most successful business owners, every successful sports person,
sports people's the best thing to.
They have a coach.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
So I listened to a podcast yesterday, actually. So Sam Ricketts, the Shrewsbury manager, so ex-Welsh international, so played at a decent standard of football. Used to play for
Wales,
Wolves.
our football team.
Used to play for Wolves. You're funny.
I could say that I'm half Welsh before anyone starts slagging me off.
I'm not sure that's a get out of jail free card. You're spoiling every point. So he did a podcast with the Shrewsbury Town. So there's a Blue and Amber Salop cast, and that's the fan podcast. And it's the first time a manager of Shrewsbury Town's ever been on the podcast. And they basically said, "What's it like to be the manager of a football team?" He said, "Well, you've got 23 athletes, all with very different personalities, all with very different things going on in their lives, and it's up to me to fine tune them into a machine that works."
Right.
And same for us with our marketing agency. We approached a coach because we know what we're doing in terms of marketing, but we want that fine tuning. You get a funny noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, the metal's vibrating through the table.
Oh, right, okay.
That's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, same for us. We approached a coach because not that we'd taken it as far as we could, but we knew that we could get it there faster with some fine tuning. Much like you'd go to a personal trainer. If you go to the gym every day, you'll do well. I'm sure you would. But if you go to a personal trainer, you'd probably achieve it in half the time.
This leads onto another interesting thread, is that I know you pay a personal trainer and you do what the personal trainer tells you. We both pay a business coach and we do what the coach tells us. We know so many people who want to employ a marketing agency and then tell them how to market themselves. It's like I will contact I pay my accountant to do the books. I wouldn't say, right, well, I think you should do it this way, and I'd like it if you could do this, and I'd like to. Well, no, that's what I pay them for. Same with the solicitor. If you have to question your solicitor or advise your solicitor, you've got the wrong solicitor. So with the marketing agency, or how we work anyway, it's like, we've got to gain your trust, I know, but we're not going to take you on board unless there is that trust to start with as well, and we'll build upon that. But we're not yes people. If you want to call us and say, right, I want to market to these people and I want to do it this way with this kind of message, these kind of ad designs, you're like, well, fucking do it yourself then.
Hi, Emily at Codebreak. I just wanted to check if you've booked your discovery call with Andy or Joel yet. It's a free 20-minute chat to talk about your goals and how we can help you achieve them. Visit codebreak.co.uk to book.
And we're back.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, you.
And I know that winds you up a little bit, doesn't it?
Which bit?
People who
tell me how to do my job.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like the solicitor example you said is good. Take your car to the garage and tell them how to fix it. Do you
think it's because to be a mechanic, to use your garage now, you need a qualification, same with the solicitor. You don't need a qualification to be a marketer. Do you think that's why most business people or people who go into business just think, well, I know how to market myself. I can post on social media. I can, I don't know, record a video.
What did Gary Vee say? He said something like, "There's loads of basketball players, but there's only one Kobe Bryant, or there's only one Michael Jordan, or whatever." And I'm not saying I'm at that level yet, but yeah, fine. You know a little bit of marketing. Fine. We're not going to be the agency for you. We aggressively pursue our clients' interests through a number of means, some of which you'll know about and some of which you'll never need to know about. But it's all ethical. We do it from a values perspective. We really, really want to help people. And if you want to be helped, you've got to open your mind and come along for the ride.
But you have to be, it's common sense, you have to be out there in front of the right people, of course, with the right message. It's always been market message media. And if you've got something great to offer, you're really trying to help people, but you're being very quiet about it, or someone makes a troll comment and you go quiet for 2 weeks. Well, obviously, as we've mentioned, that's a crying shame, but you have to address it and do something about it. You can't I'm telling you not what to do, but it'd be a real shame if one of the reasons you got out of business was because you came under fire from idiots. And
I think if that had happened to me in the first year of business, I'd have dropped.
Yeah.
I'm
if social media was as prevalent then as it is now, there's a lot more opportunity basically now to come under fire, isn't there? Do you think that would have stopped you carrying on?
I think so. I think I'd have found that really hard. Because I wasn't confident in my own voice at that point. And I also I didn't know my why as well as I should. Well, now I think, everyone that goes into business probably thinks they're going to make themselves wealthy. And now that's not even in my top 5 thoughts. Money is a nice byproduct of success for me. But success for me is time with my wife. It's being able to see things in the world that other people don't have the opportunity to see. It's being able to watch the people I work with develop and grow. It's being able to see clients see success and helping them. And now I'm so clear in that when somebody turns around and says to me, "Oh, I unsubscribed from your email and I still got one," even though it wasn't a marketing email, I just emailed them a question. I just don't care. You can't hurt me with that. I'm trying to help people. I do this for the right reasons. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think you can change who you are, but I think when you've been in business a certain amount of time, I mean, I'm different to when I started out, and I can see how some business owners, to achieve what they achieve, become, I'm not saying not nice people, but they become blunt and thick-skinned to the point of rudeness because they need to get shit done. It's like, you got an opinion about, fine, I haven't got time. I've got staff to look after. I've got a holiday I want to pay for. Why should I devote 15 minutes to hear what you have to say about my podcast when you run a very unsuccessful business? I'm not interested. Now, you and I would both know we'd sit and listen. Like you say, you'd spend 5 minutes listening to this person with their feedback on your podcast or your latest sales funnel, whatever it might be. But we know other people who are, I'd probably say rude, but they wouldn't see it as rude.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. And I feel my perspective changing slightly over time, where I feel like at the moment I'm in a bit of a thick-skinned period where it's like, we've just gone through the lockdown. Things are still shit. The country's in recession. I've got a wife, 2 kids, you and the staff. That has to take precedent over everything. And if someone is taking me away from that, I'm a bit more efficient about that than I was before lockdown.
Yeah, I agree. I think you are. I think I don't.
Will it make the boat go faster? That's what we keep talking about.
Yeah, and it depends on what is your vision of success. So you and I are very much on the same page in terms of what we see as success. So the speed of the boat is defined by the same things. Yeah. So when you turn to me and say, "I'm not emailing this person back, they're literally wasting my time," I'll just say, "All right, fair enough." But equally, we both respect each other enough to say, well, actually, I think there's an opportunity there, or we should just help that person because we can, or I think they might be in trouble, or whatever it might be. That I know you'd listen to me, and I would listen to you, and that's the only difference. Is I don't think we'll ever be kind of ruthless, but efficient is a very good way of describing it. And to the point where we've said, some businesses, not businesses, charities, but if we're going to help a charity in the future, we'll do it for free, if we believe in what they're doing as much as they do, rather than charge, because I don't want that scenario where if your charity can't sell me your vision for your charitable cause, we probably shouldn't be working together.
Totally agree. I mean, it all comes back to what you started talking about so much of it comes back to time. I would like Codebreak to get to the level where it's running so well that I have more time to be more philanthropic, to be honest, so I could do more good stuff. But at the moment, I haven't got the time to do as much as I want because I'm busy helping our clients and looking after the team and everything. It'd be great if, like, one day a week, every Friday, I'm going to devote to bloody working at ShopDoc or like you say, helping a charity for free. That's what I'm going to do, because we give back a lot. We support a number of charities and we've devoted time and money to that. But I'd like to do more. But we're getting there. At the moment, I just simply can't afford to because I've got other priorities.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's organisations around that I'd love to support more, but can't right now because of where our business isn't at that stage yet. So let me ask you a question. We talked about financial setbacks quite a lot, and we talked about mindset setbacks quite a lot. But what if something goes wrong at work? So an employee drops a clanger, or doesn't do something the way they're supposed to, even though they've been told multiple times.
Right, okay.
That's one of your favourites.
Okay.
How do you deal with that as a setback? I would say you and I are traditionally bad at dealing with that.
I still struggle with it now. My daughters know this, but to be honest, my daughters, we have a great relationship, but
as long as they do everything you say,
they do exactly what they're told. No, they get away with murder. But for them, it's if they're shown how to do something, they know how to do it. They remember it or they write it down. Holly loves using various apps to write it. So when I show them how to do something, to be honest, I know I showed them once, and I just know. And to be honest, that's how I was brought up. My dad would show me to do something once, and he just didn't really sort of understand. Well, why can you not remember? Well, I didn't write it down. Well, why didn't you write it down then? And it was almost like that, black and white. So I still struggle with that now. If I take the time to show a client, maybe one of our consulting clients, you're paying us. I know you're paying us for an hour, and I'm showing you how to do something, and then you call up next week saying, "Well, I've forgotten how this bit worked." Well, why didn't you write it down then? I'm trying to be a better person, more understanding. Find out what works for the person in terms of retaining information, because some don't like writing. So could we record a video of how this process works? Bloody hell, whatever works for you, and then that means that box is off my desk, and it's with you now. So I would imagine you would do it right from now on, because I've given you the tools that you said you needed to ensure that you don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, which is exactly what I'm going to do with the podcast equipment. So I'm going to put the camera on the tripod, point it down at the deck, record exactly how I do everything on here, and then do a checklist that matches what the video says. And then people have got the choice.
Checklists, we talked about scripts, checklists, something we've traditionally stayed away from, but there's a reason why a lot of companies use them, as long as it's done right, because they work. Because I'd say probably one of the biggest pressures of working at Codebreak is the fact that we've got clients who pay us decent sums of money to be looked after well. And if someone chooses to pay £100 a month, stay-at-home marketing freelancer, that's absolutely fine, because that was me a few years ago. That's absolutely fine. But you want to pay them £100 a month, you want to pay us maybe £1,000 a month, that's more pressure on us.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect to see posts go out with typos in or stuff like that. Everyone's human, everyone makes mistakes, I understand that. But it's something, because me and you our attention to detail.
It's weird.
It's pretty weird, but we then demand that of our staff.
Okay. So, back to my original question.
What would I do?
Yeah, so that setback's happened. Let's say that setback's happened. So something's gone wrong. A member of staff's broken a light. They've set up for the podcast wrong. They've not charged the camera. Whatever it might be. Whether we're good at it or not, as a business owner, what do you do to deal with a setback like that? Or as a manager, what do you do to deal with a setback like that?
Well, the first thing is, like I say, the checklist. Ensure, right, it's something else I know we're trying to address, but, using the default position for us being, oh, it must be our fault. Did we not train them right? Did we not provide a checklist? If the stuff is there, it's having that conversation, but it's accountability, which I've been quite bad at, because to be honest, I don't like bollocking people, but people have to be made accountable for their own future.
Yeah.
If you're going to take the credit for something, you've got to take the criticism.
But in terms of you getting over that moment, for your mindset, because
I'll drink lots. Exactly. I'm not even drinking these days.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about pebble in your shoe. Something like that can derail your day, and it shouldn't.
No.
What do you do? For me, it would be compartmentalisation. Sometimes I think
my solution is work.
I know the other day you said, "Have you been smoking weed?" to me. You literally looked at me like, "I think you must be smoking pot," because things that used to really piss me off are just not annoying me anymore. And you looked at me like something weird's happened. But it's just mindset, isn't it? You've got to get yourself in the headspace of, right, okay, that's happened. Let's deal with it, move on. And yeah, you might have to sack a member of staff. It could be that bad. But that should not take the train off the tracks kind of thing. So
my go-to is usually certainly at home, it's to shut off and focus on something else. So for here, it would be, right, that's happened, sorted it out, hope it doesn't happen again. Have I given you the tools to ensure it doesn't happen again? Then I'm going to crack on my work and focus on something else rather than this. Because I could easily sit there and stew because I just don't understand why it's happened.
Yeah.
So I need something to take my mind off it. So I might as well take my mind off it by doing something productive.
Yeah.
And that's helping clients better, prospecting, working on the business. Because that's in fact, well, hopefully this is good advice, but if you are going to take your mind off setbacks by doing work stuff, but it's work stuff that you shouldn't be doing, it's work stuff that, to be honest,
a
£5 an hour person could be doing, that's wrong. I will throw myself into doing work that makes the boat go faster, working on the business. Because if I don't know, having a bad day and I'm doing stuff in Excel or designing stuff that, to be honest, one of the other guys should be doing, I'll look back at the end of the day and realise that, well, that I've just made things worse.
Yeah, and I think that goes, that comes back to that kind of eat that frog mentality of,
great.
If you've got A's, B's and C's on your list and something bad's happened and then you're working on C's,
yeah, absolutely.
That's not good.
Yeah, there's a bloke called Jeff. Actually, I'm not sure what he's doing now. He used to be a bouncer in Coventry called Jeff Thompson, and he went on a bit of a path of spiritual enlightenment, became a very successful writer and playwright. He's disappeared off social media a bit last year. In fact, I went to a training seminar that he was running in Coventry a few years ago. Really nice chap, and he developed something years and years ago called the fear pyramid.
Yeah,
and you have at the top what is your biggest fear, but the things at the bottom, the things you start with, are the little fears. So, going to the dentist or bloody fear of flying or whatever. And his was like physical confrontation when he was a kid.
Yeah.
So he started learning karate and all this stuff. And he'd start doing the little stuff that scared him up to that top of the pyramid, which was physical confrontation. And for me, it's the same with business. It's eat that frog. You've got to address this stuff. And I remember there was an insolvency practitioner who'd come networking, and he'd always bring along like a toy ostrich. And he'd always talk about these people who are having bad financial times at business, but they bury their head in the sands and they don't address sometimes the elephant in the room, and they just end up going bankrupt, basically.
Yeah. And
you've got to address stuff. And even if something little happens in business, but it could, it needs to be done better. You need to address that, whether that's with yourself or a member of staff, because otherwise, to be honest, if you're anything like me, you'll just stew on it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think for me, which has meant some long days recently, but when something bad happens, which it does inevitably in all businesses, there's always setbacks. If I can jump into an A task, a big one, that, could be anything, could be prospecting, could be our proposals, whatever it might be, it quite quickly, that negativity fades away. And then obviously, my B tasks and my C, I don't want to be doing my C tasks, but sometimes you get to the end of the list and you've got to do them, and that's fine. But I think we're fortunate to be in a position that every day we go home, our list is probably longer than it was at the start of the day. But that's the nature.
Getting better. And I think that first step always has to be acknowledgement. It's like, AA meetings or whatever, hi, I'm Bob and I'm an alcoholic. You've got to acknowledge you've got a problem. And so many business owners, what's hurted them is stubbornness in a bad way, not a good way. It's their refusal to acknowledge they've got a situation, they need a hand, or acknowledge they've got to invest in learning or marketing, whatever it might be. And maybe that's a pride thing as well.
Yeah.
To think, I don't need help. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I don't need a coach. I don't need marketing.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you said is first thing we do is blame ourselves. And very much that mindset shift it's not about blame, it's about responsibility. It might not be our fault, but it's certainly our responsibility. And that's a really, really important thing with businesses. If one of our members of our team makes a balls up, it might not be our fault, but it's our responsibility. And
we talked about this before, haven't we, about these businesses that go under and blame increased car parking charges, the weather, you name it. It's like, no, the business went under because you didn't make enough sales. It's your fault. Yeah,
exactly that. Sorry, the world will change. That's the risk you take when you go into business.
You can't take all the plaudits about, business is great, it's thanks to me and my trade, and then something goes wrong. Oh, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, you see that with these businesses that, like Cupcakes was one, wasn't it, a few years ago, where suddenly there was a cupcake shop on every corner and they were making a mint. And then when cupcakes went out of fashion, not all, but a lot went out with it. Well, you didn't flex your business. You weren't ready for the next new thing, or your cupcakes weren't so good that they would survive that drop. I mean, we're in Shrewsbury, there's actually a lady that does cupcakes that not only survived, but she's absolutely killing it now in terms of that business. And that's because her cupcakes are unreal and her marketing is good too.
I'm about to say, without the marketing, that when you're busy and things are good, that can be a dangerous place, because these days taps can get turned off very quickly, whether that's COVID, whether that's a recession, whether that's a competitor opening up over the road and undercutting you.
Yeah.
Things can change very quickly. But when you're busy, you're running around, the money's coming in, it's wonderful. Of course you need time to enjoy it. We talked about that before in the podcast. Take time to enjoy your success. But in terms of taking your eye off the ball or thinking, I'm earning lots of money, it's okay, I'll worry about tomorrow. No, there's always...
Tomorrow never comes, yeah.
Yeah, people are very fickle, and you could have the loyalist customers in the world, but don't think for a moment that they aren't susceptible to getting tapped up by a competitor.
So what's your big takeaway from this one?
I like the compartmentalisation. I think that's to take something out of your head, move to the side, focus on something that will make the boat go faster. But yeah, you have to acknowledge there are going to be challenges and do something to address it. Are you planning on having a business to come back to after lockdown? That's what we are asking potential clients, back in March and April. Yes, I'm bloody going to do whatever it takes ethically to make sure I still have a business to come back to. Right then,
let's go.
Let's get to work.
Yeah.
But if you bury your head in the sands, or hope that things will get better, or hope that Rishi gives you a load of money, it's and sometimes swallowing pride. I had to swallow my pride a bit to get a coach.
Yeah.
But it's probably one of the best things we did, because there is help out there, and if you can listen to the right people, get the right people in your circle, whether that's a paid for coach or just friends and colleagues, and politely but respectfully not listen to people who haven't got a proven business track record. Certainly don't listen to the trolls. Do what you can to compartmentalise to get yourself away from them. Yeah, there's quite a few things really. What about you?
Yeah,
What are you doing? The main thing you're doing now to
cope.
Not ignore setbacks, but to thrive. I mean, let's face it. We're, touch wood, having a good time, but bloody hell, it's taken everything to get back here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working my ass off at the moment, but I'd say compartmentalisation has been a big thing for me this year, a massive thing in terms of just being able to cope with what the world's thrown at us, personal, global, and business. But that eat that frog mentality is also part of it. That my list now, if I sat here and let myself think about it, my list would make me anxious. There's 300 things to do every day, if not more. But there's probably 2 big things that need to be done every day, and that eat that frog and compartmentalisation aren't too far different, really. It's
it's such a good book, and it's tiny as well, isn't it? It's literally like 50 pages.
Yeah, well, I've just read a book called Who Moved My Cheese, and it's about 4 mice. And one, basically, the cheese is gone.
Vegan cheese.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
The cheese is gone, and one mouse thinks they should go and look for more cheese. One mouse is tremendously worried about going to look for more cheese, because what if the cheese comes back?
Right.
And one of the other mice thinks they perhaps should go and look for more cheese, but the cheese might come back. And one of the other mice thinks they shouldn't go and look for cheese, but the cheese probably isn't going to come back.
Wow.
And it's about the fact that, like, that flex thing you're talking about, if car parking's damaging your business, right, what are you going to do about it? If the park and ride's been shut off because of COVID, right, what are you going to do about it?
So based upon that, do you think some people shouldn't go into business? Or are you saying with the right willingness to learn and obviously the right service and product, anyone can be a successful business owner?
No way. That's like me saying...
Would you meet someone who within 15 minutes, right, you'd be able to say, with the right product and service, yeah, they've got a good chance of doing well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
But much like,
Like we could be a teacher.
Who's the guy said, if you do 10,000 hours of something, you'll become an expert? I guarantee you I could play 10,000 hours of football and I still wouldn't be a professional footballer because, one, I would never be able to be strict enough with my diet. That's very honest, but it's true. Two, I wouldn't be able to take the shit from the stands. There's one thing being able to be thick-skinned on social media. If someone's directly shouting shit at you, or 10,000 people are directly shouting shit at you, it takes a special kind of person to cope with that. I can't imagine trying to take a penalty in front of 30,000 people. That blows my mind.
And then to come back from that.
Yeah.
Stuart Pearce.
Yeah. So I couldn't be a professional footballer, but I think I can be a business owner. And, there's a slot for everyone. And much like I couldn't be a teacher, I couldn't stand in front of a room full of kids and feel responsible for their future. That terrifies me. But yeah, I've got no issue with feeling responsible for our staff's future, as long as they take some responsibility themselves. It's just one of those things. It's
very interesting, isn't it? Because we've had someone work for us who, by any stretch of the imagination, has a very, very, very stressful job. But they love it. They found doing social media stressful. And just how people are different is that I could never do what he did. Oh, God. But for me, I could post on social media for any client in any industry. Well, yeah, I didn't want to mention his name. No. Right, so can I talk about it then?
Yeah,
so he's a fireman. So he literally cuts cars apart to get dying people out, and he does that. And he's he's an excellent fireman. Fire officer? Firefighter. It's like most people are like, oh my God, you have to obviously go to accidents and stuff and see dead people, but
not like Bruce Willis
doing some social media posts because of course there's responsibility. You're representing someone's brand, but for us, we do that every day of the week, and just very interesting these different
mindsets, mentalities.
Yeah,
I completely agree. He probably the most intelligent person I know, and yet the anxiety of being responsible for somebody's business, hated it. Being responsible for someone's life, fine. No.
So is that compartmentalisation? Like a doctor who, okay, there's someone on my operating theatre. I can't think the fact that it's someone's kid, someone's daughter, someone's son or brother. I have to switch off and
trust the process.
And the system, the training.
I guess so.
We got processes here, haven't we?
Oh yeah, I definitely don't want to start doing open heart surgery though. Just to clarify. My dad was quite happy being a GP. I don't think he wanted to go, and mind you, that came with enough bloody stresses. But yeah, but I bet there's some people out there who love it, thrive,
love it.
Yeah,
we talk about business challenges. It's like my challenge is I've got to save this person's life, and sometimes I will, sometimes
if they
I won't.
die, I have to accept they probably would have died anyway. Oof.
Whoa.
Yeah, imagine that. That's hard.
That's deep because I mean we at least with our business we get a choice because we'll have some people come to us for help as actually we've talked, we've listened, we can't help you.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what we're doing is if someone's coming to us and asking us to rescue their business, that's not what we do.
So that's the important thing, isn't it, about this subject? It's like you can't help everyone. If If you're running around literally trying to help anyone and everyone, that's causing you stress, anxiety, and it's taking your eye off the ball, helping the people you are most likely to be able to successfully help, that's something that definitely needs addressing as well, because no matter how lovely you are, you just can't help everyone.
That's a good finisher.
Nice.
This has been a beast.